Yes, subscribe. You always dey watch we program them, but you not subscribe yet to the channel. All wetin you get for do, press this red subscribe button and then you come over here and press this bell. To the bell option, press this one with all. E don done. E no get for cost you anything. When you do this, na sign for show say you dey support we for make we do more. Thank you for wey you don help me for share this program. Yeah! God bless you.
Mission Task Force into a steering committee co-chaired by international partners to provide direct oversight and quality assurance in the design and operations of the Multi-Donor Elections Trust Fund. Tonight, we take a look at their concerns and the take of the National Electoral Commission. My name is Samuel Wise Bangura, and this is AYV on Sunday. Good evening and a very warm welcome to AYV on Sunday on Channel 43 on TV and on Radio FM 101.7. On my panel this evening, I have with me the Deputy Organizing Secretary for the All People's Congress Party, Karamo Kaba. Good evening and welcome to the show, Karamo.
Good evening, Mr. Wise.
I have the 2018 presidential candidate for the Unity Party, who doubles as chairperson of the party, Femi Claudius Cole. Good evening and welcome to the show, Femi.
Good evening, good evening. Thank you for having me.
I have the Director of Media and Communications at the National Electoral Commission, Philip F. Kabo. Philip, good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening.
All right, we continue the conversation whilst Marcella Samba will be joining us shortly. But to you watching and listening, remember you can always participate in the discussion through our Facebook page. You can find us at Africa Young Media Empire Facebook page. Drop your comments, your questions. We'll find time to go through some of them. Just quickly, I was going to ask this question to you, Femi.
Go ahead.
Before going to the concerns the political parties have put forward. Elections are a very critical and crucial process that leads to the consolidation of democracy. Where in an instance things are not going the right way, what do you think that brings to the table when we talk about consolidation of democracy and the election playing a very critical and integral role?
It's a very worrying time for all Sierra Leoneans right now. I feel like we're at the precipice, about to fall over the edge, the democratic edge, as it were. We are moving, at least the government is moving at a pace that is so whirlwind that they are failing to see the risks that they are placing in the path of democracy. And one thing I say all the time is Sierra Leone's democracy is still fragile. We're still in the phase of nurturing it. And I am sitting in the middle of a process. I am actually witnessing a process that you can see the pitfalls, you can see the risks that are up ahead. But the government seems oblivious to it. They're moving at a pace that will endanger all of us. But they don't seem to be able to see it. They're not stopping to take a deep breath to say, how are we living by our mandate? How are we really pushing forward multi-party democracy? Are we really doing things to promote it, or are we doing things to hamper it? But they seem oblivious. It's almost as if they don't care. It's either their way or no way.
All right. Karamo Kaba, just quickly, run us through the concerns of these political parties which the APC is part of, that you think the National Electoral Commission at this point must take a step back and take those concerns into consideration if we're going to have a very peaceful, free, fair and credible elections come 2023.
Mr. Wise, Samuel Wise Bangura, thank you. For us, we look at the National Electoral Commission as an independent body that it's supposed to be and should not be in cohort with other institutions. You know, there is this overarching power of government over many institutions. But I believe NEC is a special institution that should actually resist, by all means, any influence of the powers that be over their activities, as long as they are in line with their mandate. I was a bit pleased when in the presentation of their electoral circle, they stated that they will stick to their mandate. But then I just get turned off when they come with what they call externalities. You know, and these externalities, coincidentally, every point in the externalities are embedded in some legislation that is underway. So why the coincidence that when you talk about, first they told us that the census will not be about elections. And in their presentation, in terms of the externalities, they went on to say that, but if we have in the census, if we have reasons to do boundary delimitation and redistricting as informed by the census, we will do it. Then they went ahead to say, we have the mandate to create the voter register. Fine. That was so pleasing. But again, they have always this caveat that if the laws don't change, so which means if the laws change or NEC, NCRA enforce their own policy, they will feed off from NACRAM data.
But ultimately, NEC has the power to create the voter register.
No, that's
correct?
what they said. But they are always having this. They have these conditionalities for everything that we are concerned about. So, in other words, the picture that we are seeing clearly now, it came to the head in that meeting that along the work of NEC, these institutions, including decentralization, when NEC was asked, we will conduct election in 2004, and then they hinge it on the externalities that if
in 2024 you mean?
In 2022, sorry, they hinge it on the externalities that if the legislation does not change and it is already proposed in a bill already bound for parliament. So in other words, when these bills arrive in parliament and they are passed, so therefore there will be there will be no local council election because there will be local council would have been depoliticized. 2, NEC will depend on NCRA data for its voter registry. Also, 3, NEC would NEC will not conduct its own voter registry by itself as they promised. So you see the layers. It is so glaringly clear now that what we are up against for 2023, it paints a picture of what we have referred to as state capture intention.
Can I just quickly ask you, the questions. NEC is an institution created by an act of parliament. Well, of course, the act was taken from provisions in the Constitution. So to speak, it's a constitutional institution mandated to conduct credible, free and fair elections.
Correct.
And so if there are laws that tell NEC how to operate. So shouldn't you be happy with that? So take, for example, if the census takes place today, and there is need for boundaries delimitation, if there is need for redistricting, if there is need for us to have more constituencies, does that have to do with NEC, or NEC just has to do with the fact that there are new districts, there are new constituencies, so elections are going to be conducted in those areas?
You know, as far as I know, these are different institutions, agencies, right. MDAs.
Right.
So therefore, they should not depend on those MDAs when they are giving us electoral calendar. Because we have our own issue with them already. We don't want NEC's interference. It now seems like NEC is even encouraging already to feed off the legislations and already preempting that if this doesn't happen, if this happens, this is what will happen. If this doesn't happen, this is what will happen.
Okay.
So therefore, we believe that they are in some kind of collusion, either covertly or overtly, to prepare a grand state capture arrangement so they can rig the election.
Okay.
I can say that.
Let me just quickly welcome the chairperson for the National Elections Watch, Marcella Samba. Good evening and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Samuel. Thanks for having me.
All right, quickly, Femi. I mean, I'm just going to ask you the same question I just put to Kramokaba. We know these institutions, these state democratic institutions are meant to be independent, and they have their mandate in society. So statistics is going to conduct census, and if the census informs, if the statistics that will be coming out from the national population announced the census informs NEC that, we have over 37,000 people in that particular constituency, so there is need for boundary delimitation. We have more people in this particular part of the country, whether the north, the south, the east, or the west, so there is need for redistricting. Would NEC not depend on that? Because at the end of the day, NEC is mandated to conduct credible elections, and they will leave no one behind. No constituency should be left. Everybody should be represented, whether in parliament, at the local level, or at the presidential level.
Samuel, there's a big issue.
Go ahead.
The biggest issue here is the timing. Now, before coming to you, I did one particular thing. I went to do my verification so that when I get here, I can see just how well the system is working. They are basically, I actually stood there and timed it to see the efficiency of that process. They are basically doing one person in 45 minutes. The entire center. Now, look, if it wags its tail and it has fur and it has ears like a dog, it's a dog. Now, the reason for the rush is becoming clearer and clearer. COP came out with a statement, and we said that all roads are leading to some degree of rigging of these elections. It is the 6th year of the last census. The original script that we were given was this census is for development reasons. It is now crystal clear that it has nothing to do with development of Sierra Leone. It has everything to do with the SLPP positioning themselves. Initially, I used to say they had their finger on the scale. Now they have their whole foot on the scale. NACRA of itself has bitten off more than they can chew. There were people that were turned away at the gates that couldn't even do their verification. They obviously do not have the manpower. For a reason that has become clear to everybody, the SLPP government wants this to be done, and they want it to be done now.
When you say the SLPP is a political party, yes, and we have a government in power.
The government, let me clarify, the government of the SLPP government that is currently in power has their foot on the scale. They want to tip the scales completely in their favor.
Is the government influencing NEC? Is that what you are saying? Because NEC is an independent institution.
No, it is not. There are no such thing anymore in Sierra Leone. Let us not be naive. There is no such thing as an independent institution in the Republic of Sierra Leone anymore. It doesn't exist. And what NEC has come out with on page 60 is a clear case of pampering to the wishes and desires of this government. But you know, there's one thing I need to say to the SLPP government. If you have lived and you have ruled according to your mandate, if you have carried out the promises to the people, you need not be afraid. You need not put your foot on the entire scale of the election. We are now rushing through to do a midterm census. If the NACRA episode is just a snapshot, there is poor preparation, there is poor planning, but we want to rush it through. We want to rush it through because we want to tip the scales in their favor. But we hear them on media, we hear them on radio, we had the president, and he spoke glowingly of his term, of their accomplishments. Are they worried about going to the elections?
Is that not the reason why perhaps they are laying these building blocks to the elections from 2023, 2024?
So they have not lived according to their promises. They are now in a panic mode where they want to tip the scales in terms of the cybercrime bill, tip the scales in our favor, shut down criticism. They want to tip the scales in terms of removing political parties this close to the election. And the part that I find sad is that NEC is going along merrily with this page 60. They're going happily along with it. When we can see that there are issues there that have not been properly addressed.
Specifically, what are those issues that you're concerned about? Yes, please.
Page 60 basically tells you that once they're done with the bill, if the ayes have it, like the ayes always tend
it's
to have
conditional.
It. Yes.
If Parliament approves,
yes,
so to speak.
Yes. And then, so instead of elections, which every political party is now planning for in 2022, where the NEC chairman had given us assurances that we were going to the polls in 2022, his calendar was fixed. And lo and behold,
what if Parliament does not approve the bill?
Parliament approve or not approve, look at your timing, look at your efficiency. You have performed. You've told us what a marvelous job you've done. Go to the elections based on your record. Don't be afraid. Go to the elections based on your record. And once you win again, you can now take your time and do these things properly. Have a census where we all participate. They call political parties for workshops. When we get to the workshop, it is to give us a book and tell us, put it in your pipe and smoke it. There is no room for collaboration. There is no room for us highlighting the issues, the problems. Now, I give you a good example, Samuel. The consortium we did our own consultation of their consultation. And we discovered there were people that had no clue about the removal of political parties from local council elections. The people were even angry. And guess what we did? We made sure we had registers of all the people who attended. We had audio, we had video, we had a sign-in sheet, so everybody knows and can go back and verify. Now, they tell us that the consultant said they did wide consultations, and the people of Sierra Leone were so excited. Where is the evidence?
Okay, let me just quickly bring in, I know Philip is the defender tonight. Also, Philip is staying. Let me bring in Marcella quickly. I mean, new has been an integral component within the structure of democrats, especially elections in this country beyond. With these concerns coming up from these concerned political parties, and NEC has given timelines with regards elections and their dates, as these parties are saying, 2022 come, we should be going to the polls for perhaps local council elections, but there are concerns, and these concerns, what has been the level of interface and engagement, especially involving you with NEC and these political parties?
You know, let me start by saying we saw this coming long ago. And the Sierra Leonean people would know that National Elections Watch has not been silent on this issue. We never wanted this to become a concern and become a crisis in the nick of time. So we flagged this earlier on. One of the things I need to state, and I would restate it throughout this program, the authority and power to govern lies in the will of the people. That's what democracy espouses. The International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights says that. The Constitution of Sierra Leone says that. So it's when it comes to elections and choosing of leaders, that power lies in the citizenry. Now, if you can just send your mind 2 or 3 weeks back, you saw all the negative energies, albeit from some civil society organizations as well, that was put into the midterm census. We told them that you cannot have a midterm census now. We will run into a crisis of time. Governance has a calendar. Every regime has 5 years. That's why you have your planning. Within that 5 years, realistically, there are a number of things that can be done. That's why governance is continuity. There are realistically a number of things that can be done. By the 4th year, we are drawing down. That's by 2022 January, we are drawing down. Nothing developmental will happen. All the developmental standpoint should have happened from 2018 to date. By January, we're actually drawing down because you have certain protocols around elections. 6 months to elections, according to statutes in the region, nobody should touch the electoral laws. That's the sort of level playing field we're talking about.
And based on that, the government will now tell you definitely this is not 6 months to the elections. So we still have time to actually put the rights laws into place. So at the end of the day, we can enhance a very credible election.
That is why you look at those recommendations, 103 at hand, that were put forward in 2018, and follow that roadmap, and not to introduce a brand new process that cannot realistically take effect. It's not as if we're against a credible data for nation building or a valuable census that would integrate the entire citizenry and social fabric of Sierra Leone. We are not against that. In fact, data is at the heart of development. We love data. But we are running into a crisis of time. And when you get into that situation, it's very difficult. Sometimes I look at this state institution, they are caught up in a number of fracas that they did not create. And these are the points that the National Electoral Commission would be faced with. We sounded that alarm bell long ago. So the externalities that the political parties are talking about, these were introduced. It's not as if these were things hanging. The things that we had hanging was 103 recommendations that talked around a number of electoral reforms that would have put us on a pinnacle for electoral and democratic, transformation. But most of those are left unattended. And we are talking about new processes that will have negative consequences to the electoral timeline.
Can I quickly ask you this question before bringing in Philip? The issue of conducting a national population and housing census. The arguments that have been put forward by government and some civil society activists and people like that is that the previous census that was conducted by the previous regime was faulty, that almost everything in that census was politically motivated. And so this government now, because it is developmentally oriented, it wants to change that narrative. It wants to correct those wrong figures and bring in development. So everybody should be supportive of this initiative. So necessarily it's not about elections. So why are we now crying about elections and census? Where is the bridge?
It's interesting. Samuel, that's a beautiful idea that you've laid down. It's so utopian. We all want to get to that ideal, that perfect situation. Nobody is saying there were no challenges with the 2015 census. Nobody is not saying that. What we are putting forward is that no government starts development in its 4th year. You are moving. When would you conduct census? Somebody said to the president that a midterm census was possible in December 2020, and we said no midterm census is possible in December 2020, because for a census to happen, there are certain preliminary benchmarks to meet, and you have done nothing. Even the legal instrument is not laid. How are you going to conduct a midterm census? December 2020 is not feasible. They said we will do it. In fact, what you're talking about is a manual process. What we will bring electronics, as if electronics and digital census is going to solve the problem. It proved that it's even worse. Because when you want to go digital, you have to include a lot more investments in your human capital. You have to train them to understand the dynamic. Yet alone, bringing the device in country has become a challenge. So December 2020 was not feasible, and it was moved to April. So it's no longer midterm anymore. Because simple number line, which we did in class 1 mathematics, midterm 2015 to 2025, that's the next census should have been conducted. The midterm is 2020. That's the midpoint. By the time we go to 2021, it's no longer a midterm. It's no longer a midterm. So somebody said a midterm was feasible, and we said, no, it is not feasible. So National Elections Watch has said that. The second challenge is around the local government and the legal instrument bordering on the local governance in this country. It says at every 4th year, elections should be conducted. You know why we are hinging on that 4th year? In the past 2 elections, you find out that there had been a multi-tier arrangement to bring the local councils at par with the general and presidential elections. The arguments being put forward was that logistically it's feasible to do that. Oh, but we are breaking the law. If you want that to happen, change the law. We cannot be breaking the law at will, and because it is comfortable for us to do so. No, change the law. So in reality, we are pushing for that. And the second challenge with the local government being conducted, with the presidential and parliamentary, the functions are different. Local council and their authorities is to create a framework for development in the localities. So citizens are, their vision are blurred. They just go with the flow of the presidential and parliamentary elections and really don't have time to scrutinize who their local authorities are. And so some of us who are governance practitioners have always pushed that it would be useful. So that's why the framers of the law decided to do it in the 4th year, so that citizens would have seen clearly who they elect as local authorities. Why do we merge this? We really didn't like the merging of that. Right. So in reality, we are moving towards a situation where the decentralization policy that was being laid in cabinet says we will now have local councils in the 5th year, and also that elections will be conducted in a non-partisan basis. Now, if that's law, if it goes through parliament, the National Electoral Commission is an authority that has to obey the laws.
Right.
It is not their responsibility to make laws. Those who are making laws are members of parliament. They are going to make sure that electoral processes and voting are conducted within the precepts of the law.
Right.
And so that's why I started off by saying governing and elections rest in the will of the people. So now we all need to sit down. I think it's high time Sierra Leoneans understand that the discussion is not about which party is in power.
Right.
The discussion is not about which opposition has the strongest space. The discussion is about all the critical players in the governance space and the electoral space. What we are talking about would affect SLPP, it would affect APC, it would affect Unity Party, it would affect the Electoral Commission, it would affect civil society as well. It would affect all of us, not just a single group of individuals. We will run into a crisis of time and we create unnecessary tension. I don't know what magic the National Electoral Commission would have to pull through new boundaries, to conduct an election in 2023. And I have heard the Commission severally state that we are going to stick with this electoral calendar in 2023.
Right.
And in an electoral calendar, realistically, a number of things has to be done. So within all of this, I have mentioned 2 externalities. There is a third.
Which is?
The civil registration, a confirmation and registration process is
Which is ongoing.
It's going on, and it is so challenged because we have not taken time as a country to put ourselves together and make sure one governance process succeeds so that it becomes a property of all of us. When we have a civil register that is credible, a civil register that we can vouch for its integrity, it is a pride for Sierra Leone. It is not a pride for any one political party.
Right.
Because when I sit here as Marcella Samba Sise and I have a national identity that says a Sierra Leonean with my full details, I feel proud as a Sierra Leonean to carry that identity. It is not about a political party.
Okay.
But unfortunately, we have not pulled through our collective resources to ensure that adequate planning is done. Remember, this exercise should have been done in March 2020 before the COVID. Breakouts in the fashion it did. So it was actually delayed up to this point. But we have not harnessed all the values we have in society, be it civil society, be it political parties, be it vulnerable groups, be it women's groups, be it persons with disability. How do you access the center and how do you access information? Information around the NCRA process is very, very low. Sensitization is poor. The performance at the centers are poor. They have to really step up. National Elections Watch released a statement last week to say this process is not coming out as per schedule and as per planning as the National Civil Registration Authority has laid. We all have to quickly put hands on that process so that it will succeed, so that it doesn't be a white elephant. We cannot be repeating things over and over again, only to be wasting the meager resources we have as a nation.
All right.
So it's a plea. It's a plea to the authorities. It's a plea to all of us to make sure that these governance processes that are so outlined, that are within the electoral calendar, are quickly looked into, supported, so that by 2023, we are talking about national elections as opposed to reintroducing new processes that would otherwise bring a distortion in the electoral calendar.
Philip, you've listened to the submissions of the free speakers. With regards to NEC, you are there to just implement, the laws that will be coming out. You have no option, but like Marcella mentioned, you only have to obey the laws. And now you've presented a document that you're going to work with. But these political parties, who are very integral in the electioneering process, are now concerned about the involvement of the externalities that they've talked about. Marcella mentioned, Femi mentioned, Karamokaba mentioned them. So where does NEC stand as we speak?
Generally, I want to make it very clear that from the viewpoint of NEC, we believe, based on what is actually stated in the Constitution, Section 32, we are an independent commission. And we have demonstrated that in the 2007 election, we did it in the 2012 elections, 2018 elections, and we'll continue to demonstrate that. Because we know NEC is playing a very critical role in the maintenance and peace of tranquility of this nation. We are quite aware of that, and that is why we take our time in putting our documents together, in presenting our issues. And it's good the political parties and they are bringing up their concerns at this particular moment. But mind you, the development of the strategic plan was not done alone by NEC.
Because I was just going to ask the level of involvement and consultation.
It was very consultative. And when we presented the document in October for validation, some issues came up. And those issues we are taking on board are reflexive now in the strategic plan. And why NEC actually stated some of these externalities is for people to be aware that these are some of the issues that the commission will be faced with. And if these issues emerge, this is how the commission will address it. And that's the essence of the strategic plan. It is to tell us, to give us a guide, how and what we intend to achieve within the period stated in the strategic plan. So take, for example, the legal. It is not our responsibility as a commission, apart from actually developing statutory instruments for regulations or whatsoever. It is the responsibility of Parliament to make laws based on Section 170 of the 1991 Constitution. And when those laws are enacted, it's our collective responsibilities as citizens of this nation to go by the dictates of the law. NEC is no exception to that. And therefore, we have made it clear that if the laws change within this particular period, especially before 6 months, because that is what is the ideal situation for international best practices. 6 months before the election, you don't change laws. But before 6 months, then laws can be changed, even the register could be prepared and presented to the general public. If the laws change, for example, regarding the local council elections, in 2012, we started the 4-for-4 elections, where we combined the local council, presidential and parliamentary elections together. For 2018, the elections for 2014, we should have had the local council elections.
Correct.
But at that particular moment, the boundaries for the local councils were out of date. They were absolute at that particular moment, and there was no way for the commission to go ahead with the local council elections without having a credible data, a census, figures from the Statistics Sierra Leone, a body that has the responsibility to do that. So it was NEC who developed a concept paper and presented the challenges to the people of this council, and they approved for the postponement of that election to another 2 years, and statutory instruments were made to ensure that they enlarge the time for the conduct of the local council elections. And the conduct of the local council elections combined in 2018 was not outside the law. It was within the ambit of the law, and it was consensuous.
With the political
With the political
players.
parties, you know that, we engaged them district by district. And they gave their consent before we presented the document to Parliament for its enactment. But now you look at the laws. If you look at Section 5 of the Local Government Act, it said elections should be conducted within 4 years. We are saying we are prepared to conduct election in 2022 as it has been stated in our strategic plan. But there are issues relating to the conduct of elections in 2022 for the local council elections because of what we have had.
Those are the externalities now. Okay,
that
go.
Cabinet has approved that elections, the tenure of office of the councillors will be extended to 5 years. Elections will be conducted on a non-partisan basis. Those are issues that are not within the purview of NEC.
But you have to prepare for them should the law say so.
So we are saying now, in as much as we have stated for 2022, this 2021 will prepare the voter register for 2022. But if there are issues relating to the laws, if there are changes in the law that will affect the conduct of the elections, automatically we have no option because we are guided by the law.
So in essence, you're saying, if, for example, you're now prepared for the local council elections for 2022, for next year, so to speak, for next year.
Yes, July.
But if Parliament enacts the bill that would be taken to Parliament by the government, that we have to now give the tenure for local for councillors or chairman, it should now be 5 years, and the elections should not be conducted on partisan basis, then you have to go by that law if Parliament passes that law, correct?
Let me just give you a reflection. In 2017, you have the provincial act that was passed after we had already delimited the boundaries for the 2018 elections. That was the time that particular law was passed, and NEC was compelled
to
redo
comply.
the boundaries based on what? The new districts. And we had to prepare for the local council, wherein those districts that were newly created do not actually affect the number of seats in those councils that already existed. Those were all modalities that were put in place. So that is why we are saying, at that particular moment, it was difficult, as Marcella is saying, actually, in terms of what? Time factor. And we are saying, NEC is prepared. But if the laws change, just like what happened in 2017, when the registration took place after we had done the boundary delimitation exercise, and NEC was compelled to redo the boundaries. And we were able to redo the boundaries within the stated period, and we were able to conduct the elections in 2018. But if the laws remain the same, then we have no option. We'll conduct the elections in June, July 2022 for the local council.
As stated in the strategic plan.
Yes. Plan.
Yes, Marcella.
So why is it that as a country we keep making the same mistake over and over again and refuse to learn? In 2017, it was really messy. It was a big challenge to get the entire country. We keep touching our boundaries. Everything keep changing. Ordinary citizens do not even know that we are operating in additional districts up to this point. People who are born in one district, they are now adults and they suddenly find themselves in another district. We keep touching our boundaries. We are not learning. You introduced the 2017 law that brought about new districts and region. Now we want to touch the boundaries again with another census. Let's sit. That's why I said, let's sit as a country and delineate the path to which we want to go. Because the way we are doing things, we are getting governance mixed up. And governance is not about the party in power. Governance is about the country. Because when you leave the challenge, when you leave power, you leave the challenge with the citizens. I keep saying, I will repeat this. The power to govern lies in the hands of the citizens, not those in authority. When they go, they leave the problem to us to figure it out. And now, we have moved on to 2021. We want to repeat the same mistake in 2017. In 2017, in 3 months, that law, in fact, the law that was passed in 2017, the Provinces Act of 2017, it was revisited twice in 3 months. It was big confusion in this country. To get Parliament to know that, because we, as civil society, we stood by the point that elections should happen as per calendar. You know why we are saying that? Whenever elections do not happen as per the electoral calendar, it creates unnecessary tension and it gets out of control. How do you address a situation when the presidential term has expired? So it brings about a lot of problems. That's why, as civil society, we see those problems ahead. Because we have refused to address constitutional matters, we have seen those problems ahead. Unless we fix the constitution, these problems remain with us. So that's why the only saving grace we have, let's stick to the electoral calendar and ensure that processes unfold within those parameters. But unfortunately, we are now bringing in all sorts of issues that will impact the electoral calendar and cause unnecessary issues around timeliness and relevance.
Yes, okay, quickly, because I want to bring in Camo. Yes, quickly.
Yes, no,
you've had enough time.
No,
Don't play that card.
I think we're good. But I want us, Samuel, with your permission, not to take over your show or anything, but I want to ask him that this bill that they are trying to force down the throats of Sierra Leoneans that says there are no more party politics in local government elections, what is the preparation that NEC has made if 100 people in Western area says we all 100 want to be mayor? What preparations have you made if that law goes into effect that you can now accommodate? Are we going to have a booklet like this where we are going to be looking for our candidates? What plan do you have? Because you say you will obey the law, and the law says anybody can stand. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're correct.
Let me just respond. Definitely, if you look at the strategic plan, I think the additional strategy that has been placed pillar in terms of inclusivity, participation, and equity are critical factors that we need to look at. NEC has no right to stifle the participation of citizens of this nation in terms of contesting elections. That is why, in as much as the current provisions makes provision for political parties, there are also provisions for independent candidates to actually contest elections,
Right.
which we have accepted, and we have taken substantial number of nominations from them. And you go to our current parliament, you have independent candidates who stood in 2018 and won elections, and they are contributing meaningfully in the well of parliament. That does not mean that if it is going to be a non-partisan, that does not fall under the purview of NEC. We have to make that very, very clear. What we want, when we declare that we want nomination, all those who present themselves will definitely go through the nomination process. Because as I see, when I look at the laws, definitely it has a lot of complications. A lot of laws will need to be reviewed. A lot of laws will need to be reviewed, and that will take a lot of time. So let us wait. For me, we'll wait and see how things will actually unfold.
How things pan out.
Yes, how they will unfold. Because definitely, as I speak, it is still not a law.
Right.
It is still not a law.
But we have it here on page 60. And my question was, are you going to be prepared?
We are prepared. That is why we are saying, you look at the calendar for 2022, we have stated June, July for the local council.
So what they go through now is according to what is available, the law available. That's what NEC is going.
Based on the current laws.
Right.
So if you observe, this calendar is based on the current laws.
We're talking about page 60.
I know you are talking about page 60.
Yes, I'm coming quickly. Now let me ask you this question. Marcella made made a very brilliant submission. That is to say, the census, if conducted, the boundaries delimitation, the redistricting, they will not just affect the the APC, they will also affect the SLPP, they will affect the Unity Party, they will affect the NGC, the C4C, all political players will be affected. So, which was evident in the 2018 elections. The APC was in power, boundary delimitations were done, redistricting were done, but they lost the presidency. So in that case, at this point, what level of engagement can a party like the APC, a very, very integral party within the governance structure of Sierra Leone, can do with either NEC, statistics, government as a whole, to ensure that you have a national dialogue and an understanding as to why the census this time in is wrong from your perspective?
That is very brilliant. And you know another danger. Why the mad rush? Why the East? These are big activities that government has picked up. They are on 3 tracks right now, and they want to fulfill all 3 of them immediately. But you know the problem that I have with NEC? In the what they call potential impact on the electoral calendar, electoral context externalities, the coincidence that the 3 main issues that they brought up is the 3 main issues that are in the offings right now in either policies or bill to be passed in parliament. Why the coincidence? Why the mad rush? So we are saying, so in terms of looking at the issue of risk in your processes, you end up with everything specifically that we have problem with. So what that tells us that there is seeming collusion between the institutions.
The state institutions.
Yes, state institutions.
And
government. Because, one, we're talking about census, that there is some amount of impossibilities. The new is seeing it clearly, glaringly clear. But government is not seeing it. Statistics Sierra Leone is not seeing it. Then we come to the mammoth activity in developing the civil registration, which brilliantly stated by Marcella Samba that we should be proud to have that done. So why can't we now take one item at a time, beat it to death, and go to the other one? I have the answer. It's in few words.
Go ahead.
Because these three activities, they are all meant to rig elections. That is why they are rushing everything. And this is why, like Marcela Samba stated, they completely left the National Task Force that was dealing with the election bodies, the election management bodies. And these election management bodies include civil society, the media, political parties, National Office of ONS, I'm sure, ONS, the judiciary, the police, etc., etc. And this is how we were all taken to, I believe it was Kibima, and we came out with an Bintumani, good. Bintumani. We came up with an array of activities that is supposed to be undertaken by the task force in complete consultation and collaboration and cooperation. Because political parties, we are the main stakeholders in election process. So NEC should be working for us, NEC should be listening to us, NEC should be actually in sync with what is in our heads.
In other words, NEC should be taking instructions from you, the political players.
Not instruction.
I
said
collaboration.
Go ahead.
Not instruction.
Go ahead.
But now, what we have today, it's a very simple NEC. They have their electoral context externalities. And these externalities are not coming from any risk.
And these externalities are contingent upon parliamentary actions. And that is why I want to ask now this question, Kamo. Please forgive me. You have I'm coming. You have the APC, you have the APC, you have the NGC, you have the C4C. They're in parliament and they form part of these concerned political parties, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So which means you actually have a voice in parliament to kick against these things.
But it was
so why won't you explore that avenue to ensure that the voice of the people, which you are saying of consultations have been held with the people and they are not happy with all of these things, I mean, those voices can now be established.
It started with when government kicked out 10 political parties of the APC in parliament. And now they have conditioned the paramount chief parliamentarians to knowing whether it's a bad bill or not, to vote with government of the day. And they are in cohort with certain members of the opposition. And it is all said and done. And it is so glaringly clear that the highs will have it. And when we challenge it, we need 2/3 majority. And there is no way we can get 2/3 majority in issues like this. They tampered with the parliament, the judiciary tampered with the parliament, because now we have people in parliament that were not voted for. We all saw that with our own red eyes in this country. So all of this were, everything that is coming now was to play into the stage that was set to rogue us. This is rogue.
I'm tempted. I'm tempted
they are roguing us every now and then.
Come on.
You know, in everything must be their way or the highway. It is extreme power. We had it as an election slogan, but we didn't know it was going to be.
I'm tempted to ask this question to Philip. Philip, is NEC allowing itself, I mean, to be influenced, to be used, to be instructed and directed by the SLPP as a party? This is what Karamo believes, and I mean, this is the grand.
Don't put words in my mouth.
One second.
Don't put words in my mouth.
Go ahead.
It is all automated. NEC doesn't have a way around it.
In what sense?
In the sense that you heard them saying, if this doesn't happen, this will happen. In the first place, NEC should go with its electoral calendar like there will be no law coming. You understand?
So they should not prepare for any eventualities.
They should not be prepared. They know exactly. They are seeing the political parties are up in arms with the decentralization.
Exactly.
They are up in arms. Crime bill. They are up in arms with the census arrangement, and they are really looking keenly. We all agree with the civil registry, but we are very, very keen on looking at how it is going. And today, I brought somebody to the registration because I've done verification. He was verified. His name instead of where he registered in the western area fell in Kisii, completely in another constituency. And there was a small row, and then
That's the need for verification.
Yeah, thank you. A senior officer came, and then they took that machine away. How did that machine made it in that place in the first place? To be moving people from where they are on Ferguson Street area, and then they are taking them to all the way to Wellington area as you know. So in other words, election time, they say, oh, you're not supposed to be voting here. You're supposed to vote in Wellington. And then they will not go there. You know that happened today. I got the report, it happened today, and then the NEC authority came, and the people were all very angry. Why is this happening? And they did not even correct the young man's
information, the details.
Information.
Okay.
Instead, they took the machine, they ran off. They say they are going to do they are going to fix it. But why should that happen in the first place? That is where the mad rush is coming from.
Would have to get clarification from the National Civil Registration Authority, because the last time I engaged them before the commencement of this exercise was that, I mean, it's a digital process. So whether you register in Putloko or Kailaun, if you're in Freetown, you can still verify that in Freetown.
But your address should still fall.
Yes, but that's the
purpose.
That's the purpose of confirming and correcting your information. Correct?
For me, I registered in Kono. I will not be able to vote in Freetown.
Right.
So if they now verify that I am supposed to vote in Freetown and I go to Kono, I'm not able to vote, and the same thing.
But you're confirming it during this period.
Yes. You know, we are becoming very, very suspicious with small things like this. And you know what? Everything for us, we are career politicians. We sleep this election, we wake up this election. It all starts with election.
Look,
Let me just make a submission. You would respond, please.
NCRA engaged political parties.
Right.
Let us say kudos to them in the beginning. Before the onset of COVID, we were engaged to a point where whatever it is that would emanate from that engagement, political parties cannot say they were not part of the process.
Right.
I, in particular, went with NCRA all over this country. And I saw that we believe in what they were going to do. We think it's a good plan. But if this that they're on is the bachelor's eve, the marriage is doomed to fail. Because if you are using 45 minutes, I timed it to just process one person, and you're giving 10 days to do the entire. It is a process that is already short of time, as Marcella is saying. So why not all of us stop and take a deep breath? And the consortium has tried multiple times to engage. We had meetings, we've had letters, we've had press releases, we've even gone to do our own consultation, but this government is simply not listening. And they try to convince us by subliminal messages and the likes that we have a listening president. No, we don't.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
They come back with that.
We don't.
Can I ask this question? These issues that are coming up, they appear to be monumental, systemic issues, should I say. Why are you, the political players, suspicious of it being a ploy to rig elections come 2023?
Why hesitate on engagement?
The answer is written on the wall.
Can you please read for us?
Good. In one instance, they told us that they did consultation in terms of decentralization.
Yes.
And we went to ask the people. Nobody knew of what was happening. They did not do it at all. In Freetown, they did it, but in a very surreptitious way. Certain things, informations were not devolved to the people. And what? Profoundly, now they have taken APA, a very questionable APA chairman. I am the Secretary General. I know APA there is no APA right now. It's less than 3 political parties, full political parties in APA. They took APA, even when we protested, we called NEC. We have 13 political parties that have sent their resignation to APA, that we don't belong to APA, and we don't want to be represented by APA. And in the Constitution of Sierra Leone, Marcella will bear me witness, there is no word like APA. They said political parties. Every political party leader should be able to represent themselves in very important occasions like this. You don't take APA with a questionable character who was
of which you are the Secretary General.
I was the Secretary General. I am no more with APA because my political party is not with APA anymore.
Right.
This is the APA chairman who was on audio stating that he is in for the money. He wants to build his house. He wants to get that. He wants to get shiny shoes and bling bling.
We'll leave that for when we have him. We'll leave that. No, we'll actually leave that for when we have him, please.
This is the chairman government is depending on to build or to influence the international opinion leaders that the entire political parties are in agreement with everything, and they keep stating that in our face. We don't want to disrupt meetings. We are civil people, but to say that in the face of us sitting down, that now even the internationals come, they repeat the same thing. We are happy the political parties are in agreement, are on board with this. The political parties, for God's sake, we are not on board with anything.
Okay,
we have big problems.
Let's allow you to respond.
Let me make some clarification, because it is good people know the realities of things. When we talk about these externalities, we don't just hinge on 1 or 2 of the issues. There are other issues that we need to take into consideration. We take one,
the same thing.
The civil registration, as they are discussing. The Constitution, Section 33, clearly spells out the functions of NEC. And one of them is voter registration, which is also intended with Section 7 of the Public Elections Act. You go to the Constitution, Section 38, subsection 8, also emphasize voter registration, giving the responsibility to the National Electoral Commission. And I tell you, we have not given that responsibility out to any institution.
Not even NCRA.
Not even NCRA.
It's the externalities as a condition that NCRA.
If you look at NCR Act, Section 25, paragraph B, state that the Director General shall provide information to the National Electoral Commission for the update of the voter register. That does not deprive NEC from going ahead in doing their own voter registration exercise. And that is why, during the presentation of the strategic plan, the Executive Secretary made it abundantly clear that we open our centers all over the country, and people will go there and actually verify their names, because we already have an existing data. All of us, he said, may have registered, because if you are contesting, like our mom, she contested, it means she's a registered person. So her name is already with us in our list. So what we need to do now is just to update the register, get new registrants, and add them to our register, and we'll produce our register. That is our responsibility. We have not ceded that responsibility to NCRA. What NCRA is doing, it is based on their own mandate, the civil register. I will not come here as a public government official to actually declare what NCRA is doing now. I went to verify today. I know what I went through. That is my own story. I have my own story.
There are challenges with the process.
Yes, I have my own story. I have my own story. And that is why NEC keep insisting that when you look at Section 33, it's clear. The Constitution is very, very clear about that NEC has the responsibility to carry out voter registration. So whatever happens between NEC and NCRA, because we have a memorandum of understanding to work together, just like what is happening between NEC and NEW. We have that memorandum of understanding. But it does not mean that we cede the responsibility of NEC to NEW, neither to NCRA. We continue to perform our functions as dictated by the existing
So
laws
what's
of
the
this
level of assurance? Because that is key.
That's the level of assurance we are giving you
these
now.
Political parties are crying that
for the registration,
you are an
will
institution
open,
already
apart
being
from the
used.
externalities.
No, this
open,
cannot be assurance.
No,
These are
what we are saying,
conditionalities.
what we are saying,
Yes.
These are conditionalities.
no,
Let
it's
him
not,
land
it's
and
not a
we'll have to bring in
conditionality.
Marcella.
We are
Yes.
saying,
They are.
the ES said it in the presentation, that will open all our centers. Because the two systems are different. Civil registration is compulsory. Voter registration is not compulsory. You have to present yourself in the registration center. If you look at section 12 to 42 of the Public Elections Act, it deals clearly with all the relevant activities dealing with voter registration exercise, exhibition and the like. So whatever confirmation they are doing, we have to do our own update of the voter register, we'll do our own exhibition, we'll produce our register.
How are you going to update your register? Are you going to extract the data
We
from
already have
NCRA?
the data. We already have an existing data. We are all registered citizens here. We have your data.
I mean, you have a
an existing
targeted
data.
age.
Are you going to be
You have a
extracting
targeted
your
age,
understand?
correct?
We have an
you have a
existing-
targeted age as
Yes.
an institution.
But
So how are you
for
going to do that?
For you, people don't understand the kind of collaboration. That is what we need some clarification
Go ahead.
on. For you to be determined as a citizen, you must have been in the civil register because that is their responsibility. So the information sharing will just be a form of verifying. No, it's just verifying.
Let us
Those
Wait,
who
let
are-
him
I'm
land.
coming.
Let him land.
Those who are citizens. You understand? Because they established that one. But in terms of developing the voter register, that responsibility squarely rests on the National Electoral Commission. And we continue to maintain that because we still have the rights based on the laws that are existing, and there is no aspect in the NCR Act that actually invalidates or actually removes
Philip, just
any
quickly.
of these functions from the National Electoral Commission.
Philip, just 1 second. Philip, just quickly. How are you going to verify the voter registration? Because, for example, if I was 15 or 16 or 17 and I was not of age to vote, so you did not register me, and now I have come of age to vote, and I was not part of the set of people you targeted in 2018. How are you going to get my information? Are you going to extract that information from NCRA, or you're going to start a whole process?
As long as your name is not on our current register, we will register you.
NEC would do that.
We will do that.
Okay.
As long as your name is not. But you have to produce certain relevant document. Your birth certificate. That is not given by NEC.
Okay.
And
That is not
Let
what
me-
we are told, and there is a wrong
You see?
statement here made. And we are on TV. We have to.
Which is
correct
what is the
it.
wrong
but
statement?
the
wrong
ES
statement is,
made it
he
clearly.
said that it is NEC registered citizens, not only citizens. It's only the NEC. It's not NTRA. NEC register citizens who are
Eligible.
to vote.
Yes.
But NCRA register everybody.
Everybody.
Children, foreigners, everybody is entitled
Yeah.
to have that card. Okay, so it is not NCRA that register or determine citizens. In the process, citizenship will be determined. But NEC should know that in that pool of data that will be
Everybody is there.
extracting, they have to now vet it. Who is citizen, who is not citizen.
Okay.
And how it is.
Let's
done,
give
whether it
Marcella
was
let's give
credible
Marcella
or
a
not
bite
credible.
here.
I want NEC to be dispassionate about this. The discussion that's going on right now shows that there's confusion. And when we made a statement at the launch of the strategic plan, this was critical that we need. When I say we, I have made it clear that it has to be all critical intelligence.
Right.
Because citizens need to understand, not just political parties. Ordinary citizens need to know the interface with these processes. That's why we have rang the alarm bell long ago. You cannot be registering the same people all the time. NEC would register, NCRA would register, midterm census would, the same people the same time. It's confusion. We have made that clear. It's not that we are not supporting any of this process. We like these processes, but it's confusion. As the NCRA process is going on, people are saying, is it the census that has started? It's confusion. It's confusion. We said that, and people were all over the place making negative insinuations, shouting. No, this is a governance challenge. It's all of us. So NEC needs to say clearly, and they have to get all the partners, the stakeholders, to understand how this data will be extracted, utilized, whatever adjective they want to use. Because the foundational data, as I have understood, because I've taken time to learn how this will be done, the foundational data, whether we like it or not, will be the NCRA data. That is the foundational data. Because come what may, in 2017, there was a marriage between NCRA and NEC.
Right.
That data exists, so people should not shy away from that. So
that's the data there already.
It exists. The foundational data is in the server of NCRA. That's the foundational data. So we should not shy away from that fact, and that is the truth. So that is the information we now need to build on and get everybody to understand that that is where we are coming from. I want to leave NCRA for a second and the census and other things. There are other issues, you know. The other external issues. We have not talked about the EOM recommendations.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, but and also,
let Marcella land. Let Marcella land. Yes.
So we have not talked about the EOM recommendations enough.
Yes.
And the number one challenge of all those recommendations is the predictability of the voting day. This voting day, when what we call election day is actually, I mean, election is a cycle, so we prefer to call it voting day. The day we cast a ballot in the polls, we still challenge with that as a
we cannot predict it.
We need to have a fixed date for elections.
Correct.
We have not said enough about it. And if we continue like this, we will be moving elections here and there. And unfortunately, from the predictions I am seeing, elections will go into the rains.
Yes, June, July.
June, July. It's not even fixed, June, July. So it will go into the rain. So the predictability of the voting day is also critical. And again, there's this question of the nomination fees.
Right.
It has to be substantive and clear. You know? And we don't want a situation where nomination, this is a democracy. People have to have their own free will to determine whether they want to contest or not. We don't like the situation as democratic practitioners where nomination fees are given as subsidies. It is wrong.
Yes.
It is wrong because people have to have their own individual, you know, tendency to come forward and compete. So the nomination fees, I think, is something that we need to look at very clearly. And equally so, especially for, I mean, this is about the women's participation also. You find out that most women are public servants. Either they are teachers, I mean, they are in public offices, and we are promoting women's political participation. And then it's 1 year to resign in office. Who naturally resigns a job 1 year in this country? You know, thinking about the livelihood and economic standards. So we need to
when you don't even have a date.
Seriously. That period is too long. These are the fundamental issues that we are pushed forward by the elections observers in 2018, that by the time we go to 2023 elections, can we look at these issues critically?
And they all have to do with reviewing our laws.
Yes, some of them are not necessarily legal.
And we are all
some of them are policy directed.
Right.
For example, for the whole issue of the national broadcaster, the SLBC. The SLBC is a national broadcaster. Apart from its editorial content, the presence of those who are in the station also matters. This is a democracy. We need to see a policy where fair access and level playing field is given to all political persuasion. All political persuasion, all entities, all categories of people. The people with disability, they have their say. The women have their say. The kids also, though they are not taking part in elections, they want to say, when we have a new president, what we want to see in our president, they should be given a space. So the national broadcaster has to be apolitical and create a level field for all political players. And so, and then the final issue I want to put on the panel is this issue of an overarching strategy. Today we are discussing the National Electoral Commission strategy. But elections is not only about administration and operationalization, logistics, etc. It is also about election security. It's also about electoral courts and legal offenses. It's also about electoral justice. It's also about political oversight and political party strengthening. So we need to see an overarching strategy. For example, the Office of National Security last time, they did a fabulous security strategy, integrated security strategy for the elections, but that was underfunded. So they were not able to police the elections to the extent that they deem fit. So that's all the more reason why it is important that we have an overarching strategy that will speak to the elections, particularly so that the political parties, and some of them are here, I want to say it, the political parties are using thugs. I mean, they have cleaned the name fine and they call it marshals. They are thugs.
Marshalism.
They are thugs. There needs to be a strategy where political parties should desist from this. Is modern day. We cannot continue in that sort of primordial tendency. Elections is about ballot. It's not about fist fight. You don't need to bring vigilante and thugs into the polling station. No. So the strategy for elections has, within elections, peace and security, it has to be such that it is robust enough, financially prudent, so that it will be able to address the issue. That's why for National Elections Watch, we welcome the government's position when they say they will set up a trust fund for elections. And we anticipate or expect that that trust fund should cover all these pillars that I have spoken about.
I'm going to allow you quickly to respond to the issues, especially with nomination fees and those that fall within your remit.
Basically, all of what she has said falls under the EOM recommendations. And we've been able to place them under 6 different pillars. And we have given the responsibility based on the strategic pillar to the institutions that are responsible to do the relevant documentation and presentation to the technical working group. For example, some of them do not actually relate to reviews of our laws. It's just a matter of reviewing our systems and processes, which we have already started from the viewpoint of NEC in the conduct of by-elections. For example, the parking procedures, we have reviewed our parking procedures to be in tandem with the EOM recommendations. In fact, every department has been given a responsibility to develop their own strategy to fit into the EOM recommendations. We have given, in terms of the media, to the Media Commission. We have given, for the security sector, we have the ONS. They will take the lead because they are in charge of the coordinating the activities of the security sector. They are currently working on that. And immediately, by the close of this week, we'll be having a meeting. We have held a series of meetings with them, giving them their responsibility and getting feedback. So this week, we'll be meeting with them to get how far they have gone with their own level of preparedness based on the OM recommendations. Like for us, NEC and PPRC, we have already hired a consultant that is reviewing the laws for NEC and PPRC. For NEC, we have prepared ours, looking at the relevant laws relating to nomination fee. We have developed a formula which will be shared with the political parties.
Should political parties not be a part of that collaboration?
No, well, every institution, you take the draft, you prepare the draft, and present on the basis of the draft, but we cannot say we wait until we all sit together. All those institutions that are responsible, they have their own mandate, they prepare something, they bring for discussion, political parties will make their own input, we do the relevant corrections, and that will be the document that will be channeled to the law officers department for enactment, those that relate to actually laws.
Okay.
You understand? Okay. Like for now, we have looked at the nomination fee, we have developed a formula how to calculate the nomination fee. Because we know the nomination fees realistically is hindering the participation of not only political parties, you have the women, the youth, the aged, they are also deprived Because if you look at the current nomination fee, sincerely speaking, is high for most people, taking into consideration the economic situation. So we are looking at that. We have also looked at the uncertainty, which is also key. And we have a lot of uncertainty in our laws as I speak. One, there is no fixed date for elections. We have factored that for we want a fixed date. And in the presentation by the representative from the Chief Minister, Dr. Gaima, outrightly said that the president is willing to discuss that and to actually have a fixed date for, that, for the election. He is not adverse to that. We have also looked at another uncertainty in terms of the independence of NEC, in terms of giving the proclamation for presidential election. It says that the Chief Electoral Commissioner will do that in consultation with the president. For parliamentary, they will tell you the president will do that in consultation with the Chief Electoral Commissioner. These are conflicting issues. Considering the independent, if you want to go by Section 33 and 32, the independent of the commission. Because if I, as president, have to declare or make a proclamation for the conduct or of a particular activity that does not fall under my own purview, I wonder what's the independence of the commission in that directive. So these are all issues we are looking at. You look at even the nomination fee. It is stated as prescribed. Who prescribes the nomination fee? It's not clear in the laws.
Right.
These are all issues we have sat down, we have critically looked at them. So it does not mean that because we are not politicians or we are not contesting elections, we should be very, very adverse to the realities of issues.
So NEC is in the works at the moment?
We are currently doing the work. In fact, for NEC, we have completed ours. We had a retreat at the Brookfield Hotel. We sat down looking at every details of the law, those that requires revision.
Okay.
And we have done that.
All right. So just quickly, we have to bring in our viewers and our listeners into the conversation. I've actually gone through some of them, so I'm going to apologize and beg those of you who said I belong to the APC. That you have to forgive me. I'm not going to go through those messages. I mean, we still value your input. And you have others who said some pauper-wise, but so it's a good thing actually that I still belong to both sides. I still belong to both sides. It's a good thing. But you have to forgive me. That's the beauty of democracy. I'm going to skip them. I'm just going to read those that speak to issues. Please forgive me. Tino Weeks is saying census is a vital tool to manipulate elections. And Kao Jane, can Karamokaba tell us the position of, no, that's not why he's here, I'm sorry. People don't even have anything good in their minds for the country. All they're thinking about is their selfish and Justice Moisamba is saying, Ronald Kuruma is saying, how can school-going children do their verification? Their registrations were done in their respective schools. That is why Ernest, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going through that. We have to please respond to the issues, please.
We don't care about it.
Hassan Kamara, I'm afraid politics is all over the place. Abu Conte is saying, take NEC out of this. It is only the responsibility of NEC to implement what has been approved by Parliament. However, our Parliament has been so intoxicated that it stands no possibilities of doing the right things. That's from Abu Conte. Shame on you to say that as women, the government needs to listen to the public. Beatrice Thompson. James Amos Cabo is saying the coming census is no longer a midterm census. It could have been called a midterm census if it would have been held in 2020. Now it is 2021. What name should it be given if it holds this year? This is no longer a midterm census. Michael Larry Lumbe is saying people like, no, okay. Politics, Sweetbo, just 3 years. No. I'm not going to end that. Ingo Mas is saying, Madam Femi, you don't need to be told that service times to the NCIA varies with the person being served. Someone who can easily comprehend and articulate issues can be served. Okay, I will skip that as well. What's so disappointing here, the past 3 years has been nothing but pain, suffering, hardship, punishment, and corruption with absolutely nothing meaningful. Yet we have, okay. I thought that was leading to the conversation. Opposition never have a voice in the history of Sierra Leone politics. You guys are just wasting your time. The government will go on and conduct the midterm census. Ibrahim Kuruma is saying, I voted in 2007, 2012, and 2018 for all elected positions on the same day. And why not 2023 general elections? Amara Alpha is asking. Where were these guys when the APC started all these processes? And Ikata is asking. Karamokaba, to avoid roguing the APC, that's why midterm census is necessary. Tampering, roguing, those are not possible if the midterm census is conducted. Darami Bakari is saying, Mohamed Bangra is saying, Paupa, you're not going to. Okay, Joseph Koka, this country, if you're not corrupt, you can't have. No. Sometimes I feel like the texters, they punish me deliberately. Alaji Amarakive is saying, so what comes first, the egg or the chick? Should the elections be held with a faulty and incredible population database, or postpone the general elections until we get it right? Samoa Kamara is saying, this election is going to be the most peaceful in our history. Hungry Lion representing, okay. I'm not going to end that. Samuel Kesebe is saying, when the fox doesn't get the grapes, that grapes become sour instantly. I can't imagine. Karamo, okay, I'll jump that, I'm afraid. Can we just please, by the way, at most I'm going to take 5 more messages. Tino Wicks is saying, John Fode, with all the problem that was caused, okay, you're still responding to individual. Let's go to the issues, please. Guys, please, Mr. NEC, today my younger brother went and registered at Fawi School, Kubi, but the center that is in the paper is located in the east part of Freetown. So can you explain? It is not from NCRA. We'll bring the NCRA rep here to answer to those questions. Yeah, Yusuf Kagu. We'll bring the NCRA rep here. So, okay. The 2015 census was by far the best and most credible census ever conducted. The 2018 voter registration numbers for both the Southeast and North are perfectly aligned with the 2015 census. Colin Snow is saying, okay. APC will cry about anything that will benefit Sierra Leone. I'm happy that the Paupa is not listening to them. Any lawlessness among Lion? No. So if you want me to read your message, stop aligning your messages to a particular region, tribe. Please, I will not read that. The pot is calling the kettle black under the APC. Didn't you have policies in your favor so as to have advantage? It's only natural that the incumbents do what is to their advantage when you have NEC commissioner who don't work independently. How can you have a proper and fair system that caters for all concerned? Ona George Stone is saying. So many messages. Paul Kanu is saying ONS, NEC, civil societies, AMBs are all dormant and blinded by party. There was, okay. The only way, I think I have to hold the messages there. I would have to hold the messages there. Some of the problem of our country is our lawmakers. Every now and then, they hear on the various talk shows about how our laws, and they are still bent on passing laws that are not helping, Steve Murray is saying. Since 2018, there have been an urban-rural migration. I was registered in Freetown, but now I'm in the province. So can I be verified? Yes, you can. So I'm actually being called but you can. Otherwise, my text does not. So the final message I'll take for now is saying the midterm population and housing census will go on as planned after the expiration of the 21 days in Parliament. I encourage us all to accept to accommodate the mappers in our community for the betterment of the country, Philip Kuroma is saying. And that's it for the messages. I'm afraid I have to hold the messages there and allow my guests to respond to some of the messages. I'll start off with you, Karamo.
Well, I want to thank all those that are contributing to the debate, sentiments, good or bad, wrong or correct. This is what is the beauty of democracy. Mm-hmm. But again, particularly what is at stake here, we heard NEC stating that Now, working groups are at work. What this government doesn't like to see is the phases of political party representatives in anything, because all of these working groups were established for political parties to participate in.
But when you say the government does not want to see phases of opposition politicians, is it the government that forms those committees or NEC?
These are government institutions.
Oh, okay.
And we have established here that there is no independence in Sierra Leone anymore of any institution.
Right.
And I stated in the beginning that I would love to see an independent NEC. Some institutions I understand, but NEC should be very, very independent. But now it looks like they are whispering to NEC as to what to do. We cannot be in some activities because all of these things in the beginning, I think this was sponsored by internationals. So they call all of us. We went and sat down. New art representatives on every pillar. We established all of those things. And they call us only at NEC all the time. We go there for meetings. But when it is time for the nitty-gritty resourcefulness of things, we are not resourceful. So we cannot be there. So that is really, it's painful. And at the end of the day, they are coming up with stuff that they want to push down our throat. Like the way they have all of the legislation set up now in readiness for parliament. And I can tell you, Samuel, you can see it clearly that they are on 3 tracks, and the monitor is the cybercrime bill, because that is going to be whacking anybody or dissenting views or when you come up. And you know, for somehow the press is not seeing through that. Really, it is very easy, because I heard the Minister of Information on Radio Democracy that this is not for the press. If it is not for the press, it's for who? It's for the people. You see? So the people, they would have to shut down dissenting views against all of what they are trying to put through now, because they know 13 political parties will represent more than 60% of the nation's population, voting population, or politically active population. So if you don't listen to us, and you're pushing down everything down our throat, it is not going to work. Right now, we have seen that we need a civil registry. Let us beat that to death. Let us complete that. Let us have a credible civil registry. Let us all pay attention to that. Nobody is going to die if we don't do census. Nobody is going to die if we don't do other things that they want to do all at once. This, why the mad rush? Why the crazy hastiness to accomplish all of these things at once? Why shutting down political parties from the activities when we are the main stakeholders of the processes, of the election processes?
Okay.
This is, it's wrong.
Femi?
It is unbelievable.
And I think the roadmap is very clear. It is easy for anybody to see. This is not a government that collaborates. They do not want to hear dissenting voices. It's either their way or no way. We have tried so many times to be able to engage. Imagine you're rolling out a policy. And look, the decentralization policy, removing political parties from this, has far-reaching impact. On the one hand, you're claiming that you're really supporting women's empowerment and women in politics. And on the other hand, you're rolling out a policy which, in order for you to even contest as a councillor, if this law passes, you need to have 3 credits at WASC. In order for you to contest as a chairperson or as a mayor, you need to have a college degree, a university degree. But in order for you to be a member of parliament, all you need to do is communicate in English and read and write.
Right.
So who puts these things together? We had a meeting with the presidential advisor, Dr. Gama, and he promised us that we would have an engagement. But from all that you are listening now, this government does not want to engage. They do not want to hear the truth. They want to take all of us down the cliff. And tomorrow, when the boots are on somebody else's foot, then we have the same situation. We're crying tit for tat, we're crying revenge, we're crying all sorts of things. This government had a golden opportunity to fix things. Instead of fixing things, they are now actively destroying things. If anybody were to look at that, there are sections of the decentralization policy which are good. But why are you hesitant to engage? You instead, the consultant told us we were engaged covertly. How can you engage political parties covertly? Behind room, inside cupboard, some sign, like that you talk to one or two people. And on this platform, we're really stating that what they're doing now, after they have supposedly done extensive consultations, I understand APA is doing consultations again. The APA who represents who I don't know are apparently doing consultations again. That means your consultations were not solid. There are no records that you can give us evidence that the people said they were in favor. The people were not in favor.
Is it safe for me to say the political parties, the actors, maybe there needs to be some form of reforms within political parties first if we're actually to reform our national institutions?
No, there are issues that political parties have to address, especially in terms of giving candidates the symbols. Those are areas that political parties should work on. And I'm very happy to see that in the media there are lots of people now claiming that political parties should give women the space. And women are now trying to come together to say, look, we're a powerful voting voice. And if we do not see women being engaged, it will cost you our vote. But, let us slice it, let us dice it whichever way. This government wants to win at any cost. They are putting measures in place now to tip the scales in their favors. I am saying, stand on your record. They may say angry bin Boku. What's in Boku now? A bag of rice is almost 400,000. The students at IPAM are still waiting for their results. We're talking about quality education. We have a minister of education who goes on national TV from MIT and tells us stuff like this.
There will always come time for those conversations.
No, I know. This is the dialogue. They are now planning stuff, Samuel. They're looking at nomination fees. You want to tell me you cannot engage one representative from a political party? You're looking
at... That is NEC.
This is NEC. I'm talking to NEC about what NEC is doing now.
Right.
And there's no... They're not engaging political parties on any level. To say nomination fees, where do you come in? We have PPIC that's calling political parties in to interview us about offices. They didn't call us to ask us, what are your constraints? We as PPIC are the body in charge of political parties. What are the constraints that you are facing as political parties in engaging offices, especially in the South-Southeast? They do not engage us on that level to ask us, to talk to us. How can we make things better? How can we help you? For you to be political parties that are actually representing the people and doing what the Constitution says you do.
Philip,
instead they put in roadblocks.
Let's have your submission on that. With regards to the level of engagement and consultation.
From what they are saying, it seems as if there is a communication break between those that are representing them at the political party liaison committee meeting and the hierarchy of the political party.
Are their representatives always present in those meetings?
They are always invited. They are always being reminded for every meeting that we have for political party liaison committee meetings. One thing that we need to make clear is that when you look at the 103 EOM recommendations, some of them relate to NEC. Others relate to the security sector. In as much as they all have bearing on the conduct of election, but NEC does not have authority in some of those for some of those recommendations. So what do? Refer those recommendations to the people that have the constitutional rights to actually preside over those matters. They bring out their own recommendations, and in every of the political party liaison committee meetings, when these issues are brought up, we give them updates on where we are at this particular moment. We are trying to consolidate the documents together, then we present. Just like we did for the strategic plan. After the consultation with the various political parties, the other stakeholders, we sat down, we prepared. We took it for a validation exercise. In that validation exercise, comments came up, which we are also taking on board before we were able to actually launch this particular document. So it is a process. It's not an event. Because definitely...
But the accusation now is they are being left out of the
No,
process.
they are not being left out. They are not being left out.
Involve us in the process.
What is happening now? We give updates to the political parties and other updates.
Okay.
So the political parties and representatives doing political party liaison committee meetings as to how the issues or the pillars have been distributed and which body is actually working on them. For example, those that relate to elections and political parties, NEC and PPRC, because these are the two EMBs that are responsible for the conduct of election and for the administration or dealing with political parties. We are dealing with that. So we take all the recommendations relating to elections for PPRC and NEC. That is why we have hired a consultant and we are working on that. We've gone very far.
What
with
about
that.
the national task force?
You understand? The task force,
Yes.
no matter what happened, Mr. Kamokaba, let's have this clear. The recommendations are made for all the people of this country. They have bearing on, no, I'm coming. They have bearing on the conduct of elections. But NEC cannot address single-handedly all of these recommendations. It has the collective responsibility or the input of other institutions,
So
including you as
so
political
the,
party.
so I'm coming.
see-
So the reactivation of the task force, whose responsibility is that?
Yeah.
The activation
The
of the
reactivation of the task
is NEC.
force. So what is NEC doing with
That is
regards
what
to
I
that?
have said, that after, for us, like for NEC, what we have done.
Where is the consultant?
Let him
The
land.
consultant
Please, go
is
ahead.
with us. It's a legal retainer.
Coming from? Where is the consultant coming from?
We had initially somebody from one African country.
Okay.
He left.
Why can't
Let
you-
him
Now,
land.
come
Let
in.
him
You
land.
have asked the
Let him
question.
land.
I'm giving
right.
an answer.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Now we have a legal retainer. That is the Sierra Leonean, looking at the two institutions and the EOM recommendations relating to the two institutions. We have, for others, the security sector, ONS. I don't know whether they have recruited a consultant or not, but I know they are working on it. Because for every meeting that we have, they have given updates as to what they have done. And this week, or latest next week, the commission will also call the various heads of the pillars to come and give update on what they have done. If the document is prepared, they will present
Let us
to the
deal
general
with
public.
consultant. This is where the
So
consultant.
So what's your-
Remember, in one BPLT meeting, I asked specifically, it's on record. We want to be part of getting this consultant. We want to vet
Part of recruiting the consultant?
Recruiting the consultant. We want to vet the consultant.
But that does not fall under your mandate.
Mr. Wise,
Yeah,
Mr.
no,
Wise,
because you
no,
cannot bring a consultant upon us
No.
when we have a national task force. If we have to, first we have to agree. Because the national task force is full of Sierra Leoneans with diverse background, brilliant people. So if you now see the need to bring a consultant, one, we must agree. Two, we must be part of the process. Three, we must vet the consultant. But now you have from one African country, you have one Sierra Leonean. So
Okay.
no, I think
Where
he's
does that
missing the
leave
point.
us?
Let's have this clear. I think recruitment of staff
Not
or
staff,
consultant. I'm coming.
consultant for
Recruitment of staff, even if you are a consultant, you are still a staff for NEC within that particular period.
election.
For you understand, that does not fall under the purview.
That's the
of
mandate
political
of
party.
NEC.
That's the mandate of NEC. We have to get that very, very clear. You understand? It is us that the consultant is assisting because the consultant has his own areas of expertise. But to say political parties should determine.
No, not the
No, that from what you are saying,
No,
that you should agree, you should agree,
Collaboration is what we're
you
saying.
should agree,
I think we
you should
should
approve.
know.
It
We
should be
should
said,
know
you
the
should
process.
agree. You understand? I don't think that falls under the purview of
Let
political
me bring
parties.
Marcela just quickly. Marcela, let me bring you
Imagine
in.
No, that
our-
does
As a
not
new-
fall under the purview of political parties
Imagine
to agree on who we should
The
recruit.
task force should
For
be part.
No. I don't think that falls
We
under the
had
purview
a
of the political
consultant
parties.
for the decentralization policy. There was a consultant who we finally actually met for the first time when the document was handed over to us.
Yeah.
The local consultant, you mean?
Yes, the local consultant
Who has always been there, even if...
who
even-
told us when he was asked at the meeting where everybody was seated, how did you consult political parties on an issue that directly negatively impacts multi-party democracy? He said he consulted political parties covertly.
covertly. And,
Let's
and
be-
he
But
has not confronted
Okay,
that's
okay.
different.
Gentlemen, please, let's bring Marcella in.
Of the commission
It's
does
your
not
mandate.
fall
Let's bring
under
Marcella
the purview
in.
of political
Marcella, you
parties.
can come in. Come on, please, let's give Marcella the
Your
the
consultant
podium.
doesn't know us.
Go ahead.
I mean, there are a number of issues.
Correct.
So it is important that the National Electoral Commission, commissions the task force immediately.
Thank you.
I think we have delayed in that.
Take note of that.
Yes, let's do things in a very collective manner.
Yes.
Because I see a number of suspicions that I'm visibly saying today. I know a number of things. I have a lot of information around progress with the on the EOM because we're doing a study on it right now. But then it seems as if the political parties are unaware of what is going on. So I think it's very much important that a task force meeting is held soonest so that each and every one of the players will be on, the same footing. It's important. And personally, I will follow up on that, recommendation very, very strongly. The task force should be like the springboard to push some of this. Without the task force, some of these institutions might just leave these things hanging. As I did mention, not all of the recommendations need legal reform. They don't need legal reform. Some need policy action, some need, it's just the way, there are operational procedures so that elections can be transparent, level playing field can be created, and it can be participatory and inclusive. I want to go back to statistics, Sierra Leone. I want to make you permit me to say this.
Go ahead.
One texter say the census could go on, the midterm census could go on, even if we let go on or not. But then it's a census for Sierra Leone. People then get for participate. People can get for understand waiting get for happen. People get for included. Not so for just go participate. The same thing when we talk. Now the same thing that happen with NCRSU. Almost sensitization happen. Happen. Almost people not bring can for understand how for go about this process. Happen. So if you say the census they go on, almost people understand what they're supposed to do. Almost information they out there. If I the tablets say for them for bring can for conduct the census, no kind inside country yet. By the tenant tablets and then they come. Yeah, don't done. Now 2021 don't so. Then people are said and they begin the registration, National Electoral Commission. It means that when they conduct census, they will conduct registration of voter. Now then confusion then they will talk about. So in reality, what we should do as a country, and I am still calling on the authority to have a dispassionate conversation around this. The second point around the talk here.
Go ahead.
The second point around the issue of the census. I think say a lot of misconception there around the midterm census. And also a lot of conspiracy theories as well there around the midterm census. One thing we maybe don't say, I think 2 weeks ago we did do the media discussions around the census, and equally the National Elections Watch position paper states, let the statistics Sierra Leone give you a clear gap analysis. Let them tell you exactly what's wrong with 2015 census. Let all man see the problem.
Yes.
Because if everybody see the problem, then people will own the problem as a Sierra Leonean problem and say that this one for correct whether na midterm, whether na actual term, which is 2025. Let them tell us exactly what the problems are. Because as far as they concerned, what they say 59% of type 3 locality not there. So if that is the problem, that problem not bother around any other thing but development. How forget development through to those type 3 localities. But it's as if people then think say other problem there and people believe say other problem there with the census. And so, for let me all then at the same page, let me all understand, let me all own with problem as Sierra Leoneans, it go fine for less statistics Sierra Leone come forward with a clear gap analysis. Who side the error they pan this 2015 census, where the gap? Let them tell we so that where they can conduct whether midterm or actual term, that gap they go be addressed. I think say that is not a big ask.
Not a big ask.
Not a big ask at all. Therefore, show we exact side this problem there so that all my way they get fear with this data, because say what you may, people then get at the back of their mind say census data very valuable to electoral purposes.
Right.
And if we use an otherwise waiting and call with man call and gerrymandering, they want to sabi book. And we sabi, I mean the geopolitics around all of this day.
Yes.
So let me know, and if I for later analysis they happen, then we see how that 2015 census actually impacts in reality on the 2004 census. The constituency and boundaries in 2004, me don't take time for study. We na national lecture, what don't take time for study. So we know the exact information. But if I for let the institution we mandated by law, when at the statistics Sierra Leone come forward with a clear gap analysis, let them compare 2004 with 2015 statistics. They will say a plain one. Who's the problem there?
All right. So
if you sit down there, it go better. They text them in plenty.
I know, but just quickly before you respond to the just quickly before you respond to the messages, make a talk this na Creole. And I think saying that some people will get for take very serious. We online viewers there na Facebook. We not create platform for make una course we leader them. They seriously they attack the leader them, both the former president and the current president, and this is what our conversation and our dialogue is turning into in this country. So but please we they ask, otherwise we no get option, but we they remove all of this platform and block una no get access again. Please, this is not a platform created for you to be doing all of these things. It's not necessary, and this is part of the problems we're having. Contribute positively to the conversation. Say how best you can articulate and espouse on those policies or those issues you want governments to change if they are or the opposition, but do not attack the individuals. Of course, using motherly invectives on them is something that we cannot tolerate. Please, and our IT people are in touch, and they will definitely take action. Yeah, please continue.
And Sam, myself want to join you.
Yeah,
I think because it make this whole, apart from being the chairperson of National Election Watch, when I'm in secondary role, my primary role now for promote dialogue through campaign for good governance. And we believe, say, I know for vex anti-femi if you all different view. Neither if Philip all different view or come all different view from me for vex we want for $6 we say, let me discuss and see in all of the different views there, how we for chat away forward. For the country.
Not important.
Not important, but unfortunately,
exactly.
Cause people mind not fine. It is really undermine democracy and development, because a lot of people they shy away now from this. They're not a fix again.
Yeah, they don't want to talk now public.
Exactly. Because they know
exactly.
You see, so me say they join me voice for encourage Sierra
Yeah.
So me now another listen Steph again. Another listen.
This route
Because
one go so not good at
who
all.
say we get
Let's serious problem for we.
Oh, we get country where we all we they move forward.
Yes.
We all the benefit.
Good. So the next issue we have one for talk about, you see, we don't talk about this constitutional review. This constitutional, most of this back and forth what they're gonna, because we know if we put word one place as a country, let me look at this constitution, we will help with or solidify all of the issue they are so. When would they talk about independence of the institution, the NEC, and all other institutions of the state where for promote democracy and accountability? If we're not able to forget the independence of the institution, but the constitution for guarantee that independence. So then for do the work, people know they suspect, say, oh, then they collude, oh, this they happen. It undermine the very essence of democracy. And the second point we tied to that particular issue. Now this issue, but you know, internal democracy of political party. It's very worrisome for say the political parties there, they get for commot at political party level, can and state level. And if inside the party they're not able to tidy up things in a democratic fashion, how then they can't tidy up things at the state level? The level of chaos and fighting when they go inside the party then now with no order. Now that one day they can't transfer out to state level. And so that's why the PPRC Act of 2004 need urgent, review. I think say without delay, that is very much important. Because if one thing say we want sanity na the democratic space at the state level, the political party then get focus on other. From the constitution, from how they do political party financing, from how they interact, from how they award symbol as mentioned, some amount of guideline get for the at state level, where they institute the fundamentals within the political parties. Because na them party then they eventually get for assume power as members of parliament and at the presidential level, councillors and chairpersons as the case may be. That is if they're not paying that. And finally, wait here I will say
yes.
A number of people they don't talk about the NCRA process.
Right.
I think NCRA need for step up the sensitization. One thing with me personally think say we need for do if we affect we self so as a country, people they get away with a lot of negligence.
Right.
We never hold people accountable. They get away with them because they know say I go do wrong, my political party go back me for do that wrong. Yes. No, let's hold these institutions accountable. They are working with the people's money. Whether these monies were given by donors or not, they were given on behalf of the people of Sierra Leone. So we need to hold them accountable. The institution, the National Civil Registration Authority, has not been doing well in the last 4 days. How can they step up their sensitization? How can they make their centers functional and accessible? How can they get, because like Western area, from today people are not begin tell me, say, oh, Marcella, this thing need for be extended. Because you cannot have this. So a lot of attention need for be paid into the NCRA process where now for the benefit of all Salone people. Until we begin think say governance is about us. We forget say governance is about political parties, we could miss the point.
Thank you very much. Marcella Samba is chairperson for the National Elections Watch. I was going to say executive director for Campaign for Good Governance. Thank you very much, Marcella Samba. Thank you very much, Karamo Kaba from the All People's Congress Party, Femi Claudia School from the Unity Party, Philip F. Kabo from the National Electoral Commission. It's been a pleasure talking to. We have a very fine balance today. Two women and two men. Thank you very much. It's actually thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies, for your time. And that's all we have time for in tonight's program. Many thanks to our panelists for giving us their time, and to you, our lovely audience. A repeat of this program comes up on Thursday, and thank you for staying with us and participating in the show. Be sure to catch a fresh edition here same time next week on your home of all things credible, factual, and all times balanced news. And coming up after this is our AYV Primetime News. My name is Samuel Weisbango, and the show has been AYV on Sunday. Take care of yourself.
Yes, subscribe. You always dey watch we program them, but you not subscribe yet to the channel. All wetin you get for do, press this red subscribe button, and then you come over here to and press this bell. To the bell option, press this one with all. E don done. E no get for cost you anything. When you do this, na sign for show say you dey support we for make we do more. Thank you for we don help we for share this program. Yeah, God bless you.